Jared Curtis, five-star quarterback out of Nashville, committed to Georgia yesterday for the second time. He was originally a commit back, over a year ago. He decommitted, I think, in October, but Georgia stayed in it, narrowed it down between Georgia and Oregon, and yesterday he made his commitment to the University of Georgia.
Yeah, this is a big deal. First time in a long time since we got the number one or number two quarterback in the recruiting cycle. The biggest one last time was Justin Fields, and before that, it goes all the way back to Matt Stafford.
Yeah, it's a good get for Georgia. It kind of proves that Georgia is making the commitment in NIL that some people kind of questioned whether Georgia would be willing to do. The rumored deal for Jared Curtis is a 2-year deal to start out, $2 million. So based on what Brooks Austin was saying, it sounds like, and of course rumored, but that it's kind of the first year it's 700, 800,000. The second year it goes up. And then after that, it's kind of renegotiate to stay after that second year. And I guess that's kind of the trend that you're seeing now with these guys. The whole Nico situation kind of exposed that these guys do have some outs in their NIL deals, but I think this having a contract limit on it, which is interesting, right?
Yeah, I really like the structure of this as a template, because it makes all the sense in the world. You're there definitely 2 years. You get to get some development. You get integrated with the system. And if you go out there and have a great year, then okay, yeah. See, I did great this year. Let's talk about giving myself a raise.
Yeah, and I think it gives the player an idea of where he fits. So coming into a place like Georgia, I think Georgia is looking at Gunnar Stockton as a 2-year starter. I don't think, unless he comes out and shocks the world, I don't think Gunnar Stockton is going to be a guy that's gone after this year for Georgia. I think if he plays well, I think he's still got a lot of developing to do because he hasn't really played that much. And if we've seen anything, the Carson Beck situation, that getting more experience in college is good for these guys. And heck, the NIL money's there. So if you can make more guaranteed money staying in college, why do you risk going to the NFL draft and falling like Shedeur Sanders did? He's going to end up making a lot less money this year in the NFL than probably if he would have stayed at Colorado.
Yeah, throw Quinn Ewers in that bucket too.
Absolutely.
He probably lost the most amount of money in that decision.
Yeah. But now there is a flip side to that, right? Georgia is promising a lot of money to Jared Curtis, but that means that with the changes coming with revenue sharing and everything else, that means that there might not be as much money for other top tier prospects. Obviously, Georgia is in the hunt for Jackson Cantwell, number one overall player in the country, left tackle. It's Georgia, Miami, it seems like, are the two big programs in for him. But if Georgia's spending $2 million on a quarterback.
Yeah. So I feel like since there are no rules right now, that this is the year to just spend as much as you have. And then you'll be, I think there's going to be like some kind of grandfather period because you've already spent this money and now you've got a year or two to get under the cap, right?
Right. Well, I think part of it is the cap will be what you can revenue share, right? So a lot of these guys, only a portion of their salaries are going to come from the rev share, right? It's all going to have to go through that NIL clearinghouse. So the supplemental NIL money outside of what they're getting from the team will come in that form. It's just making sure that those NIL deals are legit and can get through the clearinghouse. That will be the next step.
I wonder what they mean by legit.
Well, I think it's fair market value is what they are saying. Of course, as Kirby said a few months ago, we don't know what that really is, but can a kid get $1 million for doing one car ad? That's not fair market value, right? It would be more along the lines of
someone was willing to pay him for it.
Right. But that's the thing. It goes back to, is an auditor going to see that, or are they going to see that as, oh, well, this is just the modern day, money in the Wendy's bag, right?
Well, I mean, IRS ain't gonna care.
True.
So, I mean, seriously, the market is whatever someone's willing to pay you. You know, so I just feel like that clearinghouse for NIL is going to be contentious.
Yeah. In the first couple of years, I'm sure it's going to be a total mess.
Because, like I said, you know, what is fair market value, and what is a valid NIL deal? There is no parameters for that, unless they're saying, okay, NIL truly has nothing to do with playing at the university.
Which technically, that's kind of the idea.
Right. And that's what it should be.
Right. But it was never going to be that, which is why it's good that they're moving in this rev share direction. At least,
Yeah, I agree. I think if they set the parameters around that, then that makes it a little more palatable, because you're saying, okay, you know, you're not going to get this crazy, weird outside money to come play football for this university. You're going to get paid from the university and go from there.
I think for Georgia, this kind of balances it out, right? The quarterback room that they currently have is not as expensive as a lot of what other schools are paying right now. Gunnar Stockton and Ryan Puglisi are not high NIL value guys from what everybody says.
Yeah.
So Georgia actually has a really, really cheap quarterback room coming into this season. That's going to change because you're going to have, starting next year, you're going to have a freshman on campus who's making more money than guys that have been there for 2, 3, 4 years at that point. So they're going to have to manage that, right? But what is Georgia getting in Jared Curtis? Let's take a look at him. He's 6'4". He's 225. He accounted for, I think, 56 touchdowns during his junior year. And 18 of those were rushing touchdowns, 18 or 19. So the guy, he's got some wheels. He's got a big arm. So he's drawing a lot of comparisons to Matt Stafford and a lot of comparisons to Garrett Nussmeier down at LSU.
Yeah, but if he has that extra dimension of being able to run a little more, because that's not really Stafford or Nussmeier's game.
Stafford could move a little bit.
He could move a little bit.
He was a little, I would say, on the ranking of a Jake Fromm to a Stetson Bennett, he's definitely above a Jake Fromm, but not quite at a Stetson Bennett, right?
Right. Yeah, I mean, Stafford was out there making Pat Mahomes throws before Pat Mahomes was Pat Mahomes.
Right. He was the original no-look sidearm guy.
Much Pat Mahomes could Pat Mahomes if he was Pat Mahomes.
Georgia is adjusting up to the market value, it seems. It'll be interesting to see where they go with the rest of their money. They've got some big-time recruits. And from what everybody says, all the recruiting experts, this year's class, the 2026 class, is very top-heavy. There are a lot of really, really good players, but a little bit weaker in the middle section. So what little high caliber players there are, there's going to be lots of money thrown around at these guys. So it's very good for Georgia to get one of the marquee players off the board to get their recruiting kickstart going.
Yeah. And shout out to Mike Bobo. I mean, this guy has been through the ringer with this fan base, and I don't think it's deserved that he gets the crap that he gets. You know, he's been part of some of the best offenses at the University of Georgia. And on the recruiting front, you cannot argue with his success. He was the one that got Matthew Stafford.
He was the one who got Gunnar Stockton. He was committed to South Carolina when Bobo was there.
Aaron Murray. And those quarterbacks did pretty damn well.
Definitely a shot in the resume of Mike Bobo. Obviously, there was a lot of talk after the season that there was all those weird rumors that his health was bad and that he was retiring and, he was going to be replaced and all that. But the guy stuck to it. Yeah, he's got a 5-star recruit coming in. It
was probably Oregon spread rumors, trying to get Jared Curtis out of the running.
Though Dan Lanning, as has shown recently, he doesn't really spread rumors. He tells the truth. So
true. Yeah. But you never know. I mean, could be Phil Knight.
Right. Look,
he's like, hey, Mike Bobo's sick, right?
Right.